Don't open them, just, it's sparkling wine. If you don't know how to do it, you'll
I kind of know how to do it.
Okay,
Actually, no, I don't.
show me.
What's the secret?
The secret is the palate's remarkable. I could be very faked out by this wine.
Before we start, this is for Matthew Davis that commented, stop zooming in so much.
You got a lot of joy out of that.
Been planning it for a week.
You gonna try to do a better job on the camera here today, Dust? Hello everybody and welcome to episode 8 of WineText TV. WineText.com, the #1 way to buy wine in America, super premium wines, discounted heavily. I'm here with my best bud, Brandon Warnke again, who was missing last episode, right?
Yep.
Most views on an episode, maybe there's a compilation.
For sure.
We have a really fun episode for you. Prosecco has become a dominant category of wine purchasing in the US. Almost 700 million bottles of Prosecco sold last year. Really fun category for me because I, obviously some of you know this, have basically been close to the wine business now for 34 years. When I was 14, I started working at my dad's liquor store. And when I first started working there, from 14 probably until 18, definitely, maybe even 20, yeah, probably till 20, 21. Prosecco was like I'm not sure we even carried one. I'm not sure we carried a single Prosecco in the first 5 to 10 years that I worked at my dad's liquor store. And then somewhere around the early 2000s, you saw it kind of start to hit the radar. We started carrying some, 1 or 2. And then the financial crisis by a lot of people's, thought really sparked off the demand because people were looking for sparkling wine at a more affordable price. Champagne prices continued to climb and people were looking for alternative sparkling wine. Fun fact, sparkling wine is the category. Champagne is a place in France and obviously only the sparkling wine from then can be called champagne. But what's interesting about that is that becomes a branding game. Now it is one of the great places for sparkling wine in the world, but what I think is fascinating about what we're about to talk about with Prosecco, and when I think about Cava from Spain, and when I think about sparkling wine from the Loire Valley of France, and I think about Australia and other places that I've had sparkling wine that excites me, there's huge arbitrage, AKA opportunity to get high quality sparkling wines around the world, not named champagne, and most people look down on that because it's not the bougie brand, but I guarantee all of you that are looking down on it and putting your nose up, if I go brown paper bag on 12 bottles of sparkling wine and ask you to tell me which ones are champagne and which one are not, you're not capable. And so that is what gets me excited about wine in general, Brandon. Any thoughts on Prosecco before I go into it?
Just what you said. I mean, it's a pretty hot category, obviously. There's a lot of big branded items, which we have a couple on the show, I think, today that you'll see. But there's a lot of smaller producers as well making really good high-quality Prosecco. You don't talk about a lot of Proseccos over 15 or 20 bucks.
Right, people think about Proseccos in like that $10 to $20 range, but we're starting to see some of the super premium Proseccos get exported out that start to challenge the same price of French champagne, but again, in a blind tasting, have a reason to be doing that because they're actually that phenomenal.
Right, and you've already seen Cava go in that direction a little bit. Domestic sparkling wine is
Cava
in that
is from
$20 price
Spain.
point. And so you've got some here too.
All right, let's get into it. What do we got here first, Brandon?
So this is the Furlan. I think it says Cuvée.
$13 suggested retail price. 92 points Vine Pair, 86 points Wine Enthusiast. This is pretty popular stuff, yes?
100%. So this is one of our biggest selling Proseccos in the shop.
And on the show, we tried to bring 2 that you can all find anywhere, and 2 that are a little bit more premium for the people that want to nerd out. Any other thing to add on this, Brandon? It just sells like crazy, right?
100%. 100%.
We sell it for under 10.
Yep.
But it's 13.
Roughly, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's give it a little snippy snip. Prosecco is found on the northeast part of Italy.
So it's not a sparkling Moscato?
No, sparkling Moscato is a Moscato. The grape in Prosecco, right? Glera. We even heard it pronounce it Glera. So it must be 85% that grape. So sparkling Moscato is the Moscato grape. and can be found anywhere. There you're talking about the grape, Moscato. Sparkling Moscato could be from California, could be from Chile. It's the grape, Moscato. Prosecco is a specific place in Italy, and only wines from there can be called Prosecco. So what's confusing to a lot of people is in the US and modern New World places, we name wines after grapes. In Europe, in the Old World, they name wines after places. Champagne is made from Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. I know you didn't, Carly. That's why you seemed impressed just now. All right, let's give it a sniffy sniff. On the nose, I'm getting a little baked apple, a little white chalk. I don't know if any of you were rascals in your classrooms like I was, but I would get to class early, get the two erasers, put them together and create a cloud for no good reason. That was me. That was you?
I just got a hint of that when you said that.
Remember that smell?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm getting here. A little baked apple, almost like not even baked apple, almost like, do you remember McDonald's apple pie?
Yeah.
Like almost the best. So basically, like if you went to McDonald's during lunch, because you went to one of those kind of high schools, and opened the baked apple pie walking into class, and one of your buddies was a rascal and did that, and you walked through it, that combination of scent is what this wine smells like. Let's give it a whirl. Full disclosure, every one of these wines is probably gonna get rated 1 or 2 points higher than it should, because, fun fact, sparkling wine is probably my favorite category. If you told me I can only drink a red, a white, a sparkling wine, a dessert wine, a rosé, an orange wine, I would probably pick a sparkling wine. It is that much of my favorite. I believe sparkling wines are misunderstood. Finally, because of things like Prosecco, people drink sparkling wine all the time, but we used to really keep it for important toasts, graduations, weddings. I believe for a lot of you that lean towards and enjoy sparkling wine, please don't be embarrassed to use it as a white wine or rosé substitute by the pool with a salad. Just casual, like as an aperitif when you have guests over. Sparkling wine should be a bigger part of the rotation, and Prosecco is a remarkable price point for it. This has a hint of little sweetness, almost like cereal flavor to it, that I like a lot. Apple continues through the palate. It is a little hollow and it is a little bit basic, but listen, it's $9.88. I think the Wine Enthusiast has this pegged right. To me, this is an 86 point Prosecco and more than 5. Nobody's gonna be upset about drinking this for 10 bucks, 13 bucks. You know, you start getting above that if you go to a local store and they have high prices. 13 feels capped out to me. There's too many other things you can find at that price point, but just very inexpensive. And you know, again, 86 points is not a humongous score, but not bad. All right, Brandon, what do we got here? Zardetto. Ooh,
Zardetto.
Zardetto. Wow, what a different label than when I grew up.
Yes.
When I was in the game, this was not the bottle. Zardetto Prosecco, 90 points, James Suckling, $16 suggested retail. Looks like Wine Library's around 12.
This might be one of the first ones that we had. Like if I think back, like, you know,
This
this
was
is
a
one of the
monster
original
for
ones
us.
for sure.
This was a monster for us. We sold a boatload of Zardetto Prosecco, to your point, in probably in the early 2000s, 2001,
Yep.
2, 3, 4. What's crazy is back then it was the same price range. These things have not gone not up that much.
Right.
Do any of you remember what Mr. Bubbles bubble bath smelled like?
Said that already.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's here again. It's here again. God, I get that smell. This smells like cheap potpourri in like a dollar store. Like, you know that smell of like, pass it on. I just want to see if like that lands for all of you. Like, you know, you go into a store like Five Below or the dollar store or like Dollar General, like the potpourri, like, do you get that? Like swirl it a little, let it open up here a little bit. There you go, Carl. Do you get that?
Yeah.
It smells like a dorm room. Like I use that analogy a lot. Like, yeah, it's like fake nice. Like shampoo,
It's soapy.
soapy. It's soapy. All right, let's give it a whirl. So less sweet than the prior wine, but pretty boring. This is actually incredibly basic. Just curious. too fast. Yeah, I just want to taste them side by side really fast. Yeah, the Zardetto is a pass for me. I'm gonna go 84 points on it. I think it's hollow. I don't think it has, ironically, it's less delicious than the first wine in some ways. It's a little more complex. It's like probably a slightly better made wine, but I really do think in terms of this way. If 100 of you tasted this wine and you had to pick one or the other, I do think more people would pick the first wine over the Zardetto. And for my own palate, I'm not really in love with it. I'm gonna go 84 points. It's a pass. Okay. What do we got here, Brandon? I know you got excited about some of the homework you did on this one.
So the next two are definitely higher end Proseccos. I think this one, Isimo, right?
Yep.
And you'll notice, I don't think it says it on the front, but on the back, it should say Valdobbiadene. That is one of the specific areas, I should say, for high quality Prosecco, kind of the heartland where it all started. And the best quality Prosecco oftentimes can come from this area.
Can you zoom in here?
These two
you see
both
this?
show it on the back.
If you see this, we'll put it in the copy. So this comes from a specific region within, so it'd be like New York State is Prosecco, Manhattan is where this was made. And so you can see, just like real estate. Real estate in Manhattan is more expensive than in Yonkers. This is a more premium area of making
And I think
Prosecco.
it's the only DOCG. The others are DOC, but in this case,
suggested
both
retail
of these.
$25. This starts getting to premium stuff. This was a monster on WineText.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the first wines we've had on the show that actually was on WineText, offered on WineText.
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah, so that's cool. So this is a little meta. This wine made a big statement on WineText. Sign up for WineText, because Sasha will be happy. All right, let's get a sniffy snip. I've not had this yet, but I'm excited about it. Aromatically already, it's more exciting. A little peach fuzz, a little cantaloupe. So this is much more exotic, already coming with a much stronger scent. Makes sense. This is a more premium area, so makes sense that aromatically it's stronger. You can sense there's something going on here. So it's interesting. The first thing I sense, which is really interesting to me, cheaper sparkling wine, or even if it's not cheap, if it's just one that I don't like as much, maybe it's overpriced, tastes more like sparkling wine. Let me explain where I'm about to go. And more premium sparkling wines tend to give me a little bit more of a hint of wine. This is almost like half sparkling wine, half high-end white wine. When I was tasting this, I was like, oh, that's Chablis, Sancerre, but it's sparkling wine. And I always think about that. It's not a common way to describe wine for all the nerds that are watching, but it's just kind of how my brain always contextualizes it. And I think it really alludes to complexity. It's extremely complex. This is right off the bat something that people that buy Veuve Clicquot or Moet or, $45, $50 champagne would go crazy for. Again, it's $25 suggested retail, $16.99 at Wine Library right now. This starts getting into real value. This is actually, to the earlier point I made in the show, get this. We'll have links somewhere. You buy this. Get a brown paper bag. Get your two favorite other champagnes, Moet, Clicquot, Taittinger, Jay, Jordan from Domestic. Get them. Get 4 or 5 friends together. Pour them blind. I think you will be flabbergasted how many people prefer this over the $50 champagne. This rivals that. This is that complexity. This is what Prosecco, done right, has the potential of. Many of the private label or lower end Proseccos that most of you buy, $9.99, $12.99, $13.99, it's not gonna have a chance to do this. You start getting into those $25 Proseccos, which is something that people that kind of drink Prosecco that are watching this right now don't think of Prosecco in that price point. And so I'm excited about it. This is really well made. You know what I really love about this wine? There's a little tiny hint of hazelnut shell and little hazelnutty thing on the finish that really, really takes this up a notch. Did you like it?
I loved it.
All right, last wine. Folador. Suggested retail $45.
Yes.
Ranges between 35 and 50. We're $34.99. Previous vintages of this wine. Oh, so this is vintage, right? 2022 vintage. The others have been non-vintage.
Correct. Yep.
So this is vintage. So non-vintage, vintage, big thing in sparkling wines. Non-vintage, Clicquot, Moet, the stuff you normally buy, non-vintage. Sometimes if you look on the label, there's like a different colored Clicquot sparkling wine that has a year on it, where it's more, is it still purple or what's the vintage?
I'm not sure.
So vintage means all the grapes from 2022 are in this bottle, right? 2022, yep. So every grape in here was grown and picked and pulled and made for 2022. These were blended from different years. Normally you take a lot of the best grapes and put it for the vintage one, and then some of the less great, because remember, this is a farming product. You have a big piece of land, and just like anything, you know, some of you pick strawberries and blueberries and apples, like some of the apples are better than others. Best grapes go into a vintage, then they blend it out. So really exciting. Talk to me about this brand.
So this is arguably one of the most iconic producers in the area for sure. Definitely more expensive than the others.
Have any of you ever drank Prosecco? Like, is it on your radar? Yes, for you?
Just for celebration.
Right, and like $9, right? Like inexpensive spark, right? Like yeah. You've never heard it? You?
Yeah, I've heard it, but I've never had it.
And
we just recently started drinking it because she likes white, she likes bubbles, and it's cheap.
And sparkling Moscato is sweet, and she's starting to elevate up
It
dry.
was always just Prosecco.
Got it. And you, Carl?
Yeah, just cheap to celebrate.
Interesting. This is really good. The nose is remarkable. Beautiful white flower. I get a little bit of melon more than, not watermelon, like melon, like not cantaloupe even. They're like, what am I looking for? Thank you, very good work. Honeydew, white flower, but the palate's remarkable. I could be very faked out by this wine. I'm a little rusty in comparison to where I was 15 years ago in tasting, in a blind tasting. If someone's like, this is $60 champagne, I'm like, okay. Like, I could absolutely be fooled. I'm gonna give the Isamo a 92 point score. I'm gonna give this 94 points. This is remarkable. This is really not eye-opening, it's affirming to what I know about what's going on in Prosecco. Prosecco, just like you heard from my friends here, what a wonderful alternative to champagne for 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, $15 a bottle. There's a lot of hitting and missing in that category. When you start getting a little bit more strategic and you go 12 to 20, this is $16.99, it gets really good. Like really good. This is really good. If you're a real sparkling wine nerd and you've gone through all the grower champagnes in France, you know who Terry Thies is, who's one of the great importers, like you're a nerd. And you haven't given the respect because Prosecco's normally low cost and you haven't gone to the super premium, do yourself a favor and explore it. Because these two wines rival many of the grower champagnes that I admire at more attractive price points. And that's the point of this show. I really want to make sure that you're learning. Most of all, I want to make sure you're acting on it. Me doing a show about why push-ups and eating healthy is good is great, but you acting on it is even better. Me doing a show about wines and getting people excited or educated about certain things like we just did here, you going out this weekend and purposely picking up a $12 and a $20 Prosecco to really like learn and taste the difference, especially if you only drink white and rosé and want to push yourself to see the alternative of bubbles, or especially if you just buy Veuve Clicquot and Taittinger and just like the supermarket premium $50 champagnes, you need to explore sparkling wines from the rest of the world.
How do you properly open this thing?
Angles. Most
You have to let air in?
angles.
Oh.
Because the bubbles, the angle you pull it from, if you go straight up, it just shoots. With the angle, it gives a little room. I'm Gary Vee, and this is WineText TV.